back here for another episode of the Disruption Podcast. It's your boy Ankur Garg with co-host
Ludwig Arroyo. What's up, everyone?
We have an extremely special guest here. This is a man I have literally known for well over 10 years. We met early on in my days at a spot called Fire and Ice, and I knew as soon as I met him that this guy has something special, Ludwig. I mean, legit, it's another creative.
Yeah.
It's a guy who knows cameras better than you, better than me, and that's saying a lot.
That hurts.
Right, but I'm going to have to ask a couple questions, figure out what team he's on, whether he's Canon, whether he's Sony. But without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the infamous Clifton Prescod.
What's up?
Yeah, buddy.
How's it going, man?
I'm honored to be here. It's been a long time since we've seen each other in person.
Legit.
You know, but that's because both of us were hustling and whatnot. But our hustle brought us back together.
Facts.
Yeah.
So you got to tell us, where are you like right now? Are you in Jersey? You in LA? You in Atlanta?
So I still live in New Jersey.
Okay.
I just work between LA and Atlanta, Miami, St. Bart's.
It's a tough life.
Light.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Some light.
Are you at Status now at United, American? You get like automatic upgrades at this point?
It's like, I come with the sweatpants and people trying to cut me, and then I'm like, yo, Group 4 is that way, my guy. They're not
He's talking about me.
I'm talking about we're 1K Premier. Like it's before Group 1, baby. Like they call me after military.
So, I mean, Cliff, you got some serious popularity behind you with the work that you've done, the placements on Times Square, with the different art that you've created, the various shows that you've been on. Your Instagram has a picture with every celebrity known to man, literally tagging Cliff in their own post. Like, Cliff's not the guy that's like running around taking photos with so-and-so celebrity. Like, let me get in a photo with you.
Right.
It's like he will be in a photo that like Nick Cannon's posting. He's just hanging out in the background. And I'm just like, yo, Cliff is everywhere.
Yeah,
But,
testament to the hard work, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's been a long time, a long journey.
Yes. They weren't always tagging me.
Right.
Have you had a I got recognized in the streets moment?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I mean, this past weekend I was at CultureCon, and people literally were like coming up to me and was like, "Yo, you're Clifton Prescod." I was just like, it's funny because people like you and you guys know me as Cliff, but it's like they will call me by the full name because that's what I'm branded.
Right.
I branded my name, so it's wild when people like approach me and it's like, "Yo, I follow you on the gram, or I love your work." Like, hey, like you have an internship or apprenticeship available. Like, I'd love to work for you, and I'm still getting used to that, even though I've been shooting for over 2009. Yeah, it's been a while. So
2009.
yeah.
Tag, you don't look a day over like 24.
Yes.
Yeah, you got that baby face.
He doesn't have the salt and pepper.
No,
No one can tell how old Ludwig is.
I want
I want it that way. I'm going to keep it that way. At 60 years old, I want to look exactly
facts.
the same.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your journey. We're going to talk about disruption and all the things that you've done in the industry.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the art that you're creating. I'm going to make your manager happy. I'm going to shout out exactly what you do. 'Cause
Okay.
I feel like us creatives are really bad at describing what we do.
Self-promotion. Difficult.
And like Cliff, you need some help in self-promotion, bro.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Let's talk about it. So when it comes to telling your story, is this the first time that you've been on a show where you get to go through like your whole career?
No.
No?
Yeah, it's not.
When did you start going on podcasts and talking to people?
I want to say during the pandemic, like I believe I did one during like 2020, but if not, then it was definitely like maybe a year or so after, and it was just while we were sitting at home and such.
Yeah.
Also, like I did a few. I don't know if like this one made the cut, but I did a few. I also did a few when I had like hired a publicist, so I had to do a lot of like stuff like that, and she was pretty much just giving me these opportunities. So one, it's like training me to get used to podcasts and interviews, but then also get that credibility. Because at the time it was like get the credibility so you can get brand deals and verified in X, Y, and Z. So
she was the magician behind all these postings and different.
She was part of it, part of a team. Yes,
that's dope, man. I mean, I saw you disappeared for a minute in social, right? And then when you came back hard, and you were everywhere. I couldn't escape you.
I came hard. That's wild.
Pause.
Pause.
So Disruption Podcast, in terms of what we've done in our careers and industries, let's start with the initial effort to brand yourself. I feel like people at home need to hear about what you were doing back in 2008, 2009, putting your name flat across the image. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I mean, I started photography, and I think I got my first camera when I was like 2005 from my dad. He had an Olympus E500, and I was playing. I was a soccer player in high school. I always wanted to be a soccer player, so I was always going to my games and games of other people and just taking pictures of them. So that was like my first exposure to utilizing a camera on subjects like people. And then in college, while I was in college studying industrial design, I was also like taking pictures of friends and teammates at college in the dorms just to, practice and just see where it goes. And
so I just want to put this into terms that people understand. You've been shooting for nearly 18 years. To be as good as you are today. I feel like some people will see work that an artist does and just like, oh, that guy got lucky. He got that opportunity.
Yeah.
They don't realize how long you've been in the game.
It's been a journey, yeah.
And now that you're a Sony camera user, I mean, now you've finally gotten to where you need to be for the camera to actually work. You know?
He put in the work on a Canon. On a slew of Canon cameras. I'm sure you're going to touch on that. A slew of
them. I went from Olympus E500, Canon 7D, Canon 5D, then Canon 1D, and now we've got 2 Canon R5s, and I personally also shoot on Sony A9s, a pair of Sony A9s, and then a Sony A1.
I just heard a lot of Sony. That's the only part about it that I heard. For everyone at home who's not familiar, I'm Team Sony.
Okay.
Ludwig is Team Canon.
Team Canon all the way. Canon gang.
This boy bleeds Canon, right? And so we're constantly bickering at each other as to what's the better camera.
There's nothing like that red ring around the the lens.
Oh man, instant quality.
It separates the boys from men.
I mean, yeah, sure.
But Sony got the nice rose gold touch on the.
It really does.
Yeah,
and the black, you can't beat Sony black, right?
And I put a carbon fiber,
skin
wrap skin on mine, so it looks pretty sick. But yeah, that was my start to photography, and then but even before that, to just quickly jump back into like my younger years, like I was always surrounded by the publishing world. My dad worked for Time Inc. And he was working in industrial. I was industrial design, but he was working in IT. He was like an IT director at Time Inc. And he had an office, and his office was right next to the Sports Illustrated swimsuit offices.
Okay, all right.
So it's like when you're, 8 to 10 years old, and it's take your kid to work day, and I'm excited because I get to go and see like what's going on in the city. And, travel on the train with my dad. And then I get there and it's like typical 90s. Like people are smoking inside the offices.
Crazy.
His coworker is like, hey kid, like, and they're passing me like a calendar, and it's the swimsuit edition, but like when they first started painting the swimsuits on them.
Oh man.
So it's like,
this is like Mad Men.
Yeah, literally. Like this typical
awesome.
90s, like, you probably shouldn't do that with kids nowadays, but I had exposure, right? And that was exposure to the publishing world and modeling and all that, where I think it later maybe awoke in me where I was like, I want to like work with models and teams and such. So I started doing that as a hobby in college. And then eventually when I graduated college, I was, even while I was in college, right, I didn't, like my senior year, I didn't have any jobs lined up. Partly, I'll admit, I wasn't really like looking for a job. I was like really trying to be a soccer player, but my mom was like, "Yeah, you got to start sending emails out." So someone down the line told me like send an email to like 30 of the best photographers in the world and see if you can get a job. So I did that, and nobody got back to me, and so I'm unemployed and looking for a job. And then it got to the point where I'm still doing the hobby, and now that I'm out of college, I'm shooting in my mom's living room, like doing headshots for people, like, and there's a lot of people that I'm still friends with to this day that have been to that house in Edison, so they know what that was like. And it got to the point where I was like getting depressed and such, right? So this is the journey. Like it wasn't always the billboards, and it wasn't always being around the celebs and such, but it's like working towards it. And I remember I was just so down and out that my mom was like, yo, you need to get a job. You can't just be sitting on the couch and such. She's like, even if you got to go to McDonald's.
Oh, no.
And I live, and my house was like 30 seconds walking from McDonald's.
Oh, tell me you didn't.
So I got up, went to McDonald's with the application, and there's nothing wrong with people, people that work at McDonald's, but I just knew in my heart, like, I'm like, that's not me. And I get there, and then I take an application, and I'm starting to fill it out, and then I'm like, nah. And I literally, it's like a movie moment. I remember going to the bathroom with the application in my hand, looking in the mirror, and it's like, no, this is not it. And I just ripped it apart.
Yes.
Ripped it apart and, put it in the garbage. And then I just started walking around town looking for, and I put a suit on. I even had a suit going to McDonald's. And so, like, I was ready that day. And then I just walked and happened to go to, like, a car dealership, and it was at BMW. And I just pitched myself as an 18-year-old. And they liked me a lot and hired me on the spot. They're like, oh, this guy's, like, he's a salesman. And I got my job then. And so all that to say, I got my job then, and then I did a little time there. But even my boss, like, he knew. He's like, yo, your heart is it? Like, everybody started following me on social media and seeing that I was shooting models and I was becoming the hero at work for wrong reasons.
And this is when I met you at Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
And,
when I was
everyone was like, yo, Clifton's here. You have to go say hi. We want to be one of Clifton Prescod's girls. That was what people were saying.
Girls, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I was there working at BMW, and then whenever I got, like, out of work, so at 7 p.m., I'm going home and I'm either doing photo shoots or I'm studying the craft. I'm looking at, like, what other artists are putting out and seeing, like, what, how can I recreate this or whatever? How can I'm still finding my voice as an artist. And then eventually the director of BMW, like the Eastern Regional Director or something like that, he, like, pulled me in his office, like, yo, kid, like, I see what you're doing. Your heart's not in this. Your heart's over there. So he let me go. And then I was very sad because I needed a job, like, desperately. But I think a week later, I eventually got an email back from one of those 30 photographers that I reached out to almost a year before in college. It was Alexei Lubomirsky. And he was like, hey, you available? You have a shoot with Avon Cosmetics with Irina Shayk. And at that time, she was dating Cristiano Ronaldo, who was my favorite, soccer player. So I was just hyped to be there, right? So I'm told it's at Milk Studios in the city. Come prepared to work. So I get a blazer, white button-up, jeans, some dress shoes, and my iPad with all of my work. And I come to set, the call time's like at 6. I'm there at 5:30.
Wait, had you ever been to a studio before?
Never been to a photo studio.
Okay, with an iPad, suited up.
Yeah, I came suited up. Like, I was like, I'm here to work and, like, business. This is business, right? Like, and I'm coming from that world of wearing suits. So I get to set, and everybody's wearing all black, just looking tired and dirty. And I'm just like, yo, I'm here for the photo shoot. I don't know what y'all is here for. And I think they thought I was a client because I just came so dressed up. And they're like, oh, he's the assistant. So they were probably talking about me. They were like, this guy's green. But, and I was just so well dressed that I couldn't really be of, like, too much help in terms of carrying equipment because, like, I was committed to the outfit. Like, I was not taking my jacket off at all. So I was like, this is New York in fashion, right? This is what you're supposed to do. Had no clue. So they realized just how green I was, and they said, all right, well, why don't you just be, like, Alexi's assistant for the day and Irina's assistant for the day. And she's like, I need a coffee. Can you get me a coffee? And she's like, and I'm like, sure. And she hands me her card, and it's a black card, and it's Cristiano's card. I was like, yo, but it's like, it's nothing to deal with, a camera. But it was just the fact that I was there in the moment and in that environment. And I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Like, this is what it's about. And then the shoot ends. And I was like, yo, Alexei, like, I'm like, I really love today. I think, like, we could do some more work together. He was like, yeah.
Fully committed.
Yeah. Like, I'm over here selling myself again. Like, so what do you think? Like, huh? You want to put a shake on it? And he was just like, yo, I love your energy and such, but he's like, you're a little green, but we'll get you right. And he's like, tell Milk Studios that I sent you here and to get a job, and you can come in and work there and just get surrounded by the equipment and people and understand what this business is about.
It's time to pay some dues.
Yeah, and this was the paying dues part. So,
and you were living in Edison.
I was still living in Edison, so I'm taking the train.
How was that? An hour each way?
So yeah, an hour, and I'm learning the city, right? Like I'm also 18 years old, and I growing up, and like my whole family's from Brooklyn, so it's different. Like I remember driving to Brooklyn, but now I'm learning about commuting and learning about what trains to take in the city. So it was those younger years where you're just learning a lot. And even when getting a job at Milk Studios, like I came with a suit on, like just more. Everybody's like more mistakes, but I came with a suit on, and it's a boy like probably a year or two older than me interviewing me, and I'm like, I'm about to take his job. Like he ain't ready to work. I'm clearly ready to work. And he's just like, yeah, come next week with proper, like with some comfortable clothes and just ready to work. And I said, fine, all right. So I come with black clothes on, and then the first thing they tell me to do is start like sweeping floors and cleaning the bathrooms. I was like, yo, I think y'all got it messed up. I'm an NJIT grad. I'm like, I'm college educated. What are you supposed to be doing? I'm not supposed to be doing stuff like this. And but I didn't realize, again, like I started realizing like what this is about. Like these are, again, putting in your dues and just soaking up the environment until I'm ready to learn the next thing. So I did my time there, and I did my time in other rental houses, but those were the years where I started like just networking within the industry. So it's like stuff like that. Like when I was working at Milk, I randomly met like Kanye and Kim creating.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
How did you meet Kanye and Kim?
So like I remember one day, again, cleaning the bathrooms, and then I get a call like, hey, somebody just finished their job in the studio, whatever. Can you bring some, they ordered multiple wine and Peronis or something like that. Can you bring it downstairs? And I'm like, all right, sure. So I'm wheeling the cart downstairs, and then I open up the door, or there's a security outside the door, and the door opens, and it's like a woman, like, and she's like opening the door by like, I guess, putting her butt against it and opening it. And it was just like a movie. It was like just revealed. And it was like Kim K opening the door. I'm like, oh, damn. Snap. This is crazy. And then Kanye was literally like perched up on a table like this. And he was just overlooking notes. And like both of them were like, oh yeah, bring it in here. Thanks. And then like, I was like, what? All right, again, I'm in the right place at the right time. It was moments like that, even though, of course, you look back and it's like superficial and childish. Yeah. But it's also something that provided that energy for me to like want to continue to take things further, because I was in the environment. It's like you can be in the room, which is fine. Like in that case, I was in the room, but I was in the room for a different reason. Yeah. I'm a general employee. But now it's like it made me want to take photography further, because I wanted to have purpose as I'm in those rooms.
Are you in these rooms, and are you learning at the time? Are you talking to the photographer about settings on the camera? Are you looking at lighting setups?
Yeah.
Or are you just going in bathrooms, cleaning up, and it like?
So yeah, throughout the day, it's very much like just be quiet and do your job type of thing. Yeah. Or I shouldn't say they did that, but like I took on that role. But I was always having my eyes at like, okay, like what they doing in there? Okay, cool. I see how they did that light. Oh, I see how he's shooting on a tripod. Why is he shooting on a tripod? Why is he shooting with that lens?
Right.
At the time, I'm a young kid, and I only have one camera and one lens. It was a 50 millimeter. Nice. So it's like I had no zoom. I'm like, what is the zoom? What's a zoom lens? What's a fixed lens? Like I have no clue. I'm just thinking a lens is a lens.
Yeah.
So, it was a lot of observation and just being a sponge in those environments that helped me to then later, like when I worked at Adorama Rentals after Milk, and I got to take equipment out on the weekends. Any equipment that wasn't rented for the week or weekend, I got to take it out.
What was your favorite piece to take out?
Besides the Canons, right?
Yeah, right. Well, because it was the 5D at the time, because I didn't even have a Canon by that time still. But I think my favorite piece was the Profoto. It was the Profoto 8A, which is this big like light pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a $15,000,
What'd you do with
ballast. I rented that and one light that comes with it. And that light's probably like a $2,500 light head. But it was just the fact that I saw the pros using it. And I was like, it's heavy, but I'm going to still use it somehow. And like, yeah, I brought it home and it was just, I had taken a picture. I don't even know where I can find it, but I remember taking a picture. I think I had 2 or 3 of those packs in my mom's house. So the carpet, it's just lined up and I was just taking a picture of it. Like I'm big time.
I made it.
This,
I made it. Yeah.
But, that was when I got a chance to use the work or use the tools that the pros used. And I did that like every weekend and it was good. But then one of my friends even had to tell me like, hey, there will be a day when you don't work at Adorama and that perk is going to go away as well. So you got to remember, I need you to focus on knowing who you are and how good you are, because you won't have that pro photo pack immediately when you leave the job. So it was interesting times. I got a chance to really tap in and use the equipment, and that's where a lot of the quality of my work jumped exponentially because of that.
So let's take a step back. We jumped right into
that was long. I'm sorry.
We jumped right into like the early stages of your career, how jealous I am of like everyone that you take photos with. But we got to tell everyone at home like who you are, what you do, right? And why like your name is synonymous with disruption.
Perfect. Yeah. So I am a entertainment campaign photographer. That's it. I can go into celebrity photographer or I can go into like all these other things, but in general, how I've positioned myself and market myself as entertainment campaign photographer. So,
all right, so let's try and break that down just a little bit because I feel like some of the people at home are so used to me talking about entrepreneurs and CEOs and so on and so forth. They don't understand, like, okay, there's 98% of startups fail in their first year, right? Only 2% of them really make it.
Wow.
How many entertainment photographers are out there for you to be at the pinnacle of that crop? Like people need to understand how much you've gone through to get to where you're at. So, can anyone just be this? Is this something that you have to go to school for? Is it something that there's certain years? Or is there apprenticeship? How does that work?
Cool. I was giving you like a second. There's like a big light streak on your face.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to put tape over that because it's getting like it's just going closer and closer.
Is it the window?
Yeah. I just know for you it's gonna look weird like if you.
It's better now.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you back
Got
up,
it.
perfect. Sorry about that.
When did it start?
It was seconds ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was like do, and I was like, oh man. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right. So, everyone at
There's the
home,
photographer right there.
everyone at
paying
home
attention.
I just know. Yeah. Sorry.
had just heard Clifton save the whole podcast.
He
That's
did.
what just happened. Everyone missed it.
Everybody else any other guest would not have said a word.
Yeah.
My guy.
They would have just been like, "That's God blessing Ankur right now." So, something like, so hit us. Explain. How does someone become this person?
Right. So for me, my journey, I was a fashion photographer. I started in fashion photography, and I started as an apprentice to a few big name photographers, as an apprentice, an intern, then lighting assistant, and I worked my way up to eventually like just becoming my own. And it was just like a jump one day. Like I said, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna jump into this. But I was still shooting on my own while I was doing all these apprenticeships and such. So I was building my name. And so a lot of people who like have been with me since those 2010 and on days, like when I was in college, what I would do is I would host these shootouts where I would invite like 4, really good looking girls that was in the college, New Jersey or New York college scene. And I would invite them to come shoot with me. And then I would invite like 2 makeup artists and 2 hairstylists and 2 fashion stylists. And we would just like create content that whole day in a location. Like there was a warehouse in Highland Park that I used. And, it had just a bunch of character to it. So I was like, we're going to make a bunch of content and just put it out. And how I went about it, like in terms of disrupting, at the time I was utilizing social media, and I said, well, okay, beautiful people, which is why models exist. But beautiful people attract everybody. So it's like, I can put you in these clothes, and it's gonna make that person feel like they too can be that cool or beautiful. So what I did was I took note of that, and I said, I want people to feel like they have to shoot with me. And I utilized social media where it's like anybody that had like a mirror selfie or taking pictures in the mirror of themselves and using it as a profile picture, I was like, they're most likely very vain and into themselves, and they most likely would want to shoot with me. And it kind of worked. We all, I'm not making fun of them because we all probably did that back then, but I targeted them in that way. And then I would see like, okay, how popular are they? Kind of like the model that you have used for your previous companies as well. It's like, we're going to use the most popular people, and we're going to get that. And I guess you can call it influencing, right? Yeah. Like, because I shot them, and them working with me influenced others to then hire me for their work. So I was doing that back then. And then to further just make sure that people people knew exactly who I was, I didn't have a logo, or I shouldn't say, like, it wasn't like a monogram or anything like that. Like, I put my name across the whole image and made it a part of the art or the part of the image. So if I had to put an effect on it or colors on it to make it blend in, or not blend in, but stand out, but be a part of the image, I did that. So I think that's why, minutes ago we said people saying Clifton Prescod, like when they come up to me, it's just, I've been marketing my name since 2009 doing that. So
it's a long time.
But even in terms of disruptive marketing, right, I noticed that Donald Trump did that back in the day. And I was like, yo, his name is everywhere and it's recognizable. It's the same font. So I was just like, I want to do the same thing for my business so it can be recognizable. Like, I took that. I took his model like very serious because he did succeed in that. So, and it just worked.
My man was like, if Donald's using Trajan Pro,
yeah, I'm gonna use that. It's Trajan Pro. I was like, man,
is that the logo?
I don't know if this is exact, but that's the closest one.
No, as the graphic designer in the room, that's the font, man.
Oh, it is. Okay,
right
yeah. So I was like, I need that.
Yeah,
and that was my logo. That was my font, and for a long time, because I just saw the success that he had. And you think about fashion designers and Trump or anybody's like, Berkshire Hathaway, whatever you want to call it. It's like people ended up making their last names into a brand and a trusted name. And I was like, how can I do that? Especially being a young black kid and an artist. It's like, people are not just going to trust me out of nowhere. So I was like, oh, I kind of have people said like, oh, I kind of have a white name and so like you just got to be, the faceless artist until they arrive on set. I'm like, oh, snap, like it's a brother.
Right, yeah. I feel like when it came to the world of photography, I remember when I saw Ludwig and I saw his logo, and I was like, this man is using this dope logo of his name, like big black font and like a signature in the background. I feel like I only ever saw that once people had made it. I feel like photographers weren't branding themselves as early as you both were when you guys were putting out content. And it was the branding that you guys did that cemented who you were talent-wise in my brain, right, as a fellow creative. And I immediately was like, oh, yeah, they're better than me. They have a logo, right? Their images are branded. Like, I'm over here doing iPhone photography or whatever back at that point. And, yes, the first Shreds cameras roll Canon. Yeah, but we eventually got the Sony. But the first set of photos that I ever branded, I just remember I'm going to do whatever Clifton did, right? Because everyone just knew what Clifton was, right? And so I started putting logos gigantically across images. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, you literally influenced me into following that same branding cycle of what you're doing. And I can't imagine how many other photographers started following suit. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure throughout your career, you've been like, oh, that dude just stole everything. Yeah. That I did. I'm sure you've seen that a bunch of times. Yeah. It's actually wild. You know what? Now that I think about it, I got to give him credit. There was he's the big he was my big homie back then in terms of photography, Frank Antonio. I don't even know if you remember that name, but he was a photographer, and he
he was a photographer in the Bronx, and he would put his name on the very bottom to not interrupt the image. And I was just like, nah, we got to put it right in the middle. It's mad funny because sometimes my friends like, yo, you got that main character energy going on. Right?
There's no other way to describe Clifton Prescod but main character energy. That's for 100% positivity.
But I saw Frank do that too, and I was just like, man. But then and I know I probably pissed him off by doing that because it's like it's copying. But then I did see other people do that as well because again, it worked. But I think it's just like. There's certain special things, right? Like my name is 7 letters. Every part of my name is 7 letters each. So there was what do you call it? Symmetry. There was symmetry with it, so it worked. Like not everybody can do that, and not everybody's name sounds like whatever. So it was interesting. But I definitely saw like a lot of people try to mimic and whatnot. So, but with that, just like you talk about disruptive marketing, it's like okay. What's the next step past that? Because someone's always behind you trying to like take your spot or and if they're not trying to take your spot, like they could just naturally do that. Yeah. So how do you stay on top of your game? So yeah.
And let's get it straight. I mean, you like leaped like miles ahead of everyone else from where you were.
Yeah.
And you jumped into the forefront of the conversation with all the major platforms, the streaming shows, all of it. I mean, I can't even tell you how many nights my wife and I will be on the sofa trying to figure out what we're going to watch. I'm like, oh, Clifton made that. Oh, look, Clifton's part of this one too. I definitely saw Clifton post a picture of this. I think he made this one too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you were literally part of the process of ending the scroll.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to disruption, like that's big.
That's major, yeah.
So,
and I appreciate that you appreciate stuff like that because a lot of people don't realize how like my work or people like me influence their decisions.
You're everywhere, Cliff.
Yeah.
Everywhere. I can't escape it, right? Yeah. Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu. I will just see this man all across the place. But let's jump into the people that you've had an opportunity to work with. I mean, go ahead. I think you should name drop a little bit here. For whatever we're allowed to talk about, right? Because I think we're at a point now with the SAG strike that we could talk about some stuff.
We could talk about, I mean,
wait, you are union, too. We got to get into that in a second. But let's talk about some of the names you work with, so people at home really understand who you are.
Man, I didn't come prepared, but I mean, off the top of my head, definitely Nick Cannon, who
we've heard of that guy.
Who gave me my first chance in the entertainment world. Cardi B, Kanye. Dion Cole, Hasan Minhaj.
Wait a second. Does Kanye know the story of how you met Kanye?
Nah, I don't think he knows, but one day he will. I'm determined that we're gonna do a big project together. But Cardi B, Migos, Hasan Minhaj, Ali Wong, Dave Letterman.
Dave Letterman.
Like,
yo, can we talk about the Letterman project real quick?
Yeah.
So how? I feel like you must have been so involved with shooting that show on Netflix that literally changed the game of how like podcasts are shot. Everyone saw that Letterman did this whole thing with the 2 couch system, the entire audience in front of them.
Right.
I mean, how much of a part of that production were you?
So I mean, I'll be very honest. Like, I'm not a part of a lot of that, in terms of the creating of the look and all that. It's as a union photographer, I'm brought in by the network or the streamer to carry out, conducting or taking imagery or creating imagery for the show to support the show for its publicity purposes and just throughout the whole life of that particular show. So we're talking before it airs, as it's airing, after it airs, and then during award season. And then even after that, like if a show, they bring back a show like 5 years later to Netflix, like, oh snap, like Insecure is on Netflix now. That's an HBO show. But it's like the photographer who worked on that show is, again, creating the imagery that would make people who usually would be, or people who are not on HBO, be attracted to watch, the show now on Netflix.
So that process is probably not something that most people understand, right?
Yeah.
Every one of these streaming platforms has a different, typecast audience member.
Yeah.
Right? That's looking for something specific. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just that Dave Letterman photo was iconic.
Yeah.
Right, with the couches in the back of his head and the one in front. And I've
Yeah.
seen it in so many different angles at this point.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, yo, man, this guy just knows how to capture the moment in a way that makes me so curious to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
I think it's important to kind of delineate the difference between what you do as a union photographer, which is what you just spoke about, to then what you do as a key art, right?
I don't speak Spanish. What's delineate? I'm playing with you. I'm sorry. It was a serious moment. I know. I had to break it up. He's like, what? ¿Cómo estás? Delineato. Nah, I know what you're saying though. Yeah.
So as a union photographer, you do the images as support, right? And you're constantly behind the scenes taking those types of photos. But then there's the key art, which is what Ankur's talking about, where the cover image of the poster.
Right.
You know, they hired you separately. That's a whole separate gig, right?
Yeah. So
the billboards.
Right. So yeah, like for David Letterman example, like I shot the episodic work. So that's as the production is in progress and filming. Like, so I worked on the one with him and Cardi B. Great show. Seeing them two interact with each other was absolutely hilarious.
So you do the one on stage plus when they go like in her.
We went to North. Yeah, we went to upstate New York and went to the Franklin D. Roosevelt Museum and his house, is it? Yeah, it's a museum. Yeah, and we got to so I'm walking with them as she is, touring around, and apparently she's really into politics and U.S. history, and particularly Eleanor D. Roosevelt. I think they shared the same birthday. So it's something like as a kid she took a liking to, and then just never left. Yeah, just like even seeing she was hyped. Like I'm taking a picture of her, excited to see the braces that he had when he had polio. Like it's like, oh snap. So yeah, it was, and it's beautiful, right? Because that part of my job, in terms of a document, I guess talk show type, those are real moments. It's not scripted. Yeah. So it's almost like an honor to be capturing, Cardi B. Just like for a moment, not be a star, not be a celeb, and just be a person that admires a fan, or be a fan of something that she holds close to her heart.
Right.
And it's my job to create a memory. Now, my images will live on the Netflix platform and other various things, but it's just like if she ever wanted that photo for herself, because that might be I think that was the first time she's ever been there. That's a memory that I just created for somebody.
Yeah.
As well. So that's one part of my job. So whether I'm on a talk show or a documentary, that's called your episodic work. And then the other side is when the marketing budgets start getting involved, and they're like, hey, we need you to create the key visuals to represent this film or this show or this project.
Guys, it's being so humble. No, it's the big studio execs are like, we need Clifton Prescod to come in and make the visuals. Yeah. They're going to get 20 million people to subscribe to Netflix.
Yeah.
Right. Just, tell me this. Has 50 called you yet for Power?
He has not called. He personally has not called me for Power.
My man needs to call Clifton Prescod.
But it's okay because I've shot for Power like a few times now.
Stop playing. No way.
Yeah.
Did you know what was going to happen at the end before it happened?
Oh, man. So I was on the episode that Sax gets shot. And I had to hold that.
Are you hearing this right now?
I had to hold that.
Put the disclaimer up on that.
I think it's already out. It's been out. Yeah,
I haven't watched it.
Yeah. So I mean, even that, like, it was his last day. So as somebody, like, it's interesting, but it's like, obviously, photographers are hired for big moments, but like some photographers are like specifically like, I need Clifton there because not only will I know that he will get the shot, but he has a relationship with the cast members or whatever. Now, I say that because some of these cast members have been on Wild 'N Out. Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of like cross-pollination, but I realized the position that I was in, and I'm like, so I tell these companies and these networks, you should hire me for episodic work, because if I'm gonna be on set, if there's gonna be a photographer on set capturing these people's intimate moments and such, you want a familiar face, so that person's not like pissed off or annoyed or whatever. Like, no, that's Cliff, that's my dog, he's doing his job. So that, like, I had to like really sell networks on that. And again, then selling them on the other side about key art, like, hey, if I'm about to spend a whole day with this person and these images are going to be the key visuals, the things that represent the film and represent the larger company, you should hire me. And I'm grateful. I'm still working. I'm still working to get my name out there. I don't know everybody, but I have got it to the point where I have made my name recognizable and my work recognizable to be trusted on marquee projects and very popular projects that various networks and streamers have had, and to the point where it's like they have been featured in Times Square.
Yeah, I mean, you got double digits of billboards.
Yeah, I think it's like 11 or 12, or I shouldn't say think. It definitely was. I think I ended up getting or having about like 11 or 12 in the span of like 2 years or something like that.
But see,
that's insane.
Did you know about this story where he almost quit?
Oh man,
I do, but now I don't think the fans know.
I heard it was in front of Times Square billboards where this all went down. You got to tell us.
Yeah. So speaking of Times Square, it's a blessing that. Yeah. So speaking about Times Square, it's a blessing that we even are able, like that my work's up there, because there was a day where, and a time where I wanted to quit, and it was 2015.
Bro, the world almost didn't get to see Clifton
The world
work.
They would have lost it.
Yeah,
I would have watched totally different shows.
Yeah, right. But it's like, I was assisting on a shoot, and it was me and my best friend Jared, and he was struggling at his job as a DP because just external factors. And I referred him to the job. So the client and the photographers, this is when I was an assistant, the client and the photographers are looking at me like, yo, like, what y'all kids doing? Like, this is serious business. Like, this is for a company in Dubai. And it's called Level Shoe District. And it was a pretty bad day. We were getting yelled at in Spanish. Like the photographers are from Barcelona. They're like yelling at us. It's probably the worst thing you can ever get yelled at by some Spanish. Like a lot of that going on.
A lot of lisp.
So everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Everything went wrong, and we left the shoot, and we're nearby Times Square, and I said, bro, let's just walk. Like, we have to obviously decompress, but like, let's walk let's go towards the lights, and we're walking over, and it's a summer day. Yeah, it's like an end of a summer day, and it's like getting a little bit cooler, and you can start really seeing the lights as we get closer, and then I see like a divider. And I just sit on the divider, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, yo, we have a decision to make. Are we going to continue on this journey? Because if we thought we were getting blacklisted and everything, it was that bad. Yeah. Even though it was all these factors that were not in our hands. But like, it was, I think every artist has moments where they just think they're going to quit, they're not good enough, but this was like strong. And then we were both like, nah. Like, we're gonna stick with it. Like, we gotta move forward. We gotta find the next win. We gotta find the next project. And I think it was like a year or two after my boy Jared got his billboard in the city of a project that he DP'd, or DP'd or cam out or something like that. I think it was DP'd. But and then I got mine maybe like 2 years after that. So,
and now your stuff is all across the world.
Yeah, omnipresent.
Like, it's outrageous.
Yeah,
you probably can't even go to all the different cities that have your billboard.
And I'm so mad about that, because I always see the Times Square one, and obviously that's a really good one to have, and to be like, I'm in New York, and that's where you expect to see that. But it's like, it would be really cool to see my stuff. Where is it at in LA? Where is it at in Miami? Where is it at in London, Tokyo, Hong Kong? Like, wherever these places
Wichita,
are.
Kansas.
Yeah. Like,
it's up everywhere.
I mean, like, if there's something that popped up in Edison, that would be amazing.
Nah, man, all the Indian business owners have bought all of the billboard
got
space.
It.
Either that or Jamie. One of them is bought.
Well, you
all
know
the
what?
space.
You just gave me an idea. I really got to tap in with Bollywood.
Yo, man.
Like, hey, look,
you got to get in line behind me, okay?
Listen, you're right, because you can't get busy with the camera. But look, I'm honorary Indian. I'm West Indian. But
Close enough.
I'm honorary Indian because I made the Bhangra boys.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know the vibes.
Well, we got a test. I mean, do you know how to make a shark and bake?
I don't speak Spanish.
Doubles.
What?
Doubles?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay, so he is West.
I'm Bayesian and Bahamian, so like I don't think shark bake is from those particular regions, although they probably would eat that. But yes.
Man.
Yeah, it's crazy how your stories ebbs and flows. It starts with, coming out of college, going to McDonald's, right? So there's a low there. You don't have any job. Then you get a call from a college professor, and that it puts you. But then you're cleaning toilets, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just like this up and down. And I'm wondering what from your childhood kind of gave you that ability to self-talk and self-motivate and just keep going through when you're facing such adversity, right? Because it wasn't all peaches and cream.
Yeah. Peaches and cream.
Yeah, that's right.
I grew up in church. I mean, I think that's like the biggest, the foundation. Like my parents put me in, and I grew up in a really good church too. Like there wasn't just like you're singing hymns all the time, but like my particular pastor, Pastor A.R. Bernard, he was very culturally savvy. So it's just like, hey, like we want to spread the love of Jesus Christ, obviously, but how could you do that in a way that obviously will attract the hearts of people? And how can you do that just by living your best life, right? So it's just like nobody wants to follow a loser.
Right.
So like you have to win. Like at some point you have to win, but what are the keys to winning? Okay, putting your head down, maintaining a good posture of leadership and such. So I was always surrounded by that in church, but then also outside of it. So like my mom and her sisters created a company back in the day called Leadership 2000 and Beyond. And it was like one of the first, at least on the East Coast that I know, it might have been more elsewhere, but I know for the East Coast, it was one of the first like commercialized leadership conferences for just like the regular person. And they would get like some of the brightest minds to come, like Mike Murdoch, Miles Monroe, Pastor A.R. Bernard, who else? Yeah, it was just a lot of like big thought leaders as well. And also like diplomats, because some of them had diplomatic positions and like, consulting with governments and such. And they would just, because of that company, I was just in such proximity, like even as a younger kid, I was soaking it in even if I didn't know it, right? So it was those foundations that I do feel like that helped out a lot. Me playing soccer, and oftentimes I was in like captain role or such like that. So I knew like I had to lead by example in a lot of different ways. And then I think it's just, I would say it's innately in me. Yeah, maybe it was taught as well. I'm sure it was taught. That's where your skills are enhanced, where it's taught. But I just had a lot of examples, whether it's my mom, my dad, he owned like the soccer association in Edison, and he was definitely the first to build relations between like municipal sport clubs or link them to like professional sports. So it's just like, hey, like Red Bulls, you should do, or at the time was Metro Stars, like Edison United and Metro Stars should. We are the biggest. What is it? Edison's like the third biggest municipality in New Jersey, and they were the biggest soccer recreational and travel program in the state. Hey, we should team up and partner up and do like something together. And so it was like seeing those collaborations and seeing him think past just day-to-day operations, but like how can we like change the culture again. So being around that with my dad, my mom, friends, all that, there's a lot of like leadership focused events or things that help shape who I am today.
Yeah, that's dope.
On behalf of his management team, I'm just going to go ahead and supplement that answer.
Yeah.
It's perseverance.
Perseverance.
This man has probably gotten rejected from hundreds of offers that we're not even going to talk about, right? But it's the wins that kept him moving to the next point. Yeah. And then one win compounded on the next win, compounded on the next win. All of a sudden, he was in Hollywood. Yeah. But the rejections not affecting you is a miracle, right? I mean, the same.
They affected, but yeah,
same
I
feel
what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, for the rejections to not make us shut down,
right,
and not come back.
Right.
I mean, most people don't know this, but Shreds almost never became what it was. There was a very specific date where when we started, we had a spreadsheet of every supplement store in the country. And we would just pick up the phone, call them, and be like, hey, we're a new supplement company called Shreds. Click. hey guys, we're a new supplement company called Shreds. Click. Let's call the next number. Hey, talk for a couple minutes. They're like, yeah, sorry, buddy. If you're not Optimum Nutrition, we're not buying your products.
Right.
Click. We reached the end of that spreadsheet, and we were just like, oh, this is never going to be anything. No one's ever going to give us a chance, and we almost gave up.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's over 3,000 supplement stores in this country, so it took us a while to get through this, and maybe only 7 of them ordered. And so we weren't sure what was going to be next. But fortunately, perseverance led to social media marketing and led to influencer marketing and everything that we were behind and what we did.
Right.
And I mean, it's just something magical about the guys that were utilizing influencer marketing in 2011, 2012, and 2013. Mm-hmm. And the rocket ship that you were on with everything that you were doing got you to where you're at today.
Yeah. And
dude, it's a blessing to be in your orbit to see it. It's dope.
Man, I appreciate that.
So that brings up a point that Ankur's talking about. You know, his shirt is talking about his money green shirt. Let's talk about money, which I'm sure is on the mind of some of the people that are watching.
Absolutely.
You know, if I was watching this podcast, I'd be like, man, this guy made it. What does that even mean for a commercial photographer to make it? And you don't have to talk dollars. I don't want to get into what's in your bank account, right? But in terms of the pay of a photographer like yourself, we already know what you're doing. We already know what's on the billboards. Is it at the level it needs to be? Is it going to get to another level? Are there higher levels at the job that you're at?
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the pay scale and what that's all about?
Right. It's so funny because I follow those pages on Instagram. Like it's like American Income or I shouldn't be shouting them out, right? But anyway, stuff like that where it's like transparent, talking about the transparency in the industry. And I love hearing about stuff like that because, yeah, there's a lot of people that are interested in jobs but just don't know. Like, hey, can I live my life doing what that is? So, yeah, I'm at the end of the day, I'm an artist. So as an artist, it's like, yeah, you can have like really bad years or really good years, but also it depends on how commercial you're trying to be. Like, are you doing what you need to do in business to get your name out there? There's tons of great artists. Like and I'm going to answer what your question, but I think it's like worth noting. You look at classical artists, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all that stuff, right? Back then, like all you could be is like a doctor, a smith, or an artist, or a philosopher, or a priest. Right. So there wasn't many occupation, or a carpenter, or whatever. But it wasn't in general. There wasn't as much occupations as there is now. So I'm like, yo, Da Vinci or Michelangelo, like their neighbor was probably just as good as they were.
Right.
But what makes
I don't know about Michelangelo's neighbor.
But let's just think about it this way. Let's say his neighbor was just as good. Why is Michelangelo eternal and his neighbor wasn't, or immortal? Because of marketing. Dang. So it's like if you're not doing your job in marketing yourself, nobody's ever gonna know who you are. So as a commercial artist, I really made an effort to make sure that people knew my name. And, you know, it's like you talk about being a household name. Like you really, like I want people, when they say my name, like eventually I want to get it to the point where they just say my last name. Or they say
We're going to drop the Clifton?
No, I mean, I don't know. But it like if like people say, you know who Denzel is when you say Denzel.
Yeah.
You know who, Avedon is by his last name. So it's just like, I don't ever think I don't think I'm gonna shorten it, but like if anybody had to, like Prescott, immediately, I know what you're talking about. It's not Dak. Like I'm not, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about Dak. I'm talking about Clifton.
Yeah.
I get it, man.
Yeah. Yay. Right.
I go by AKG, right? So I understand.
Exactly. So it's like, you have to do your part in terms of, if you want to make money for real, you have to do that. Or you're just not going to be known, and you can't be mad at anybody else but yourself. And if you are not innately a business person, or if you have not put in the work to gain the skills to do that, you can't blame anybody else. And maybe just maybe, I don't like to discourage people, but maybe that's just not where you're supposed to, the level you're supposed to go. But if you are going to, do that, then you can take it to the commercial level. Because I'll say that as someone who switched from the editorial to the now commercial look, and I don't mind sharing this. I think the year before I made 6 figures, I made $32,000. So I made $32,000 one year, and then I joined the union, and then started really putting focused efforts towards becoming a commercial photographer. And I made 6 figures, and it wasn't in the one. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So it's just like, oh snap! And that was just my first taste, and I was like, okay, yeah. But that's also the scary part too, is because you are an artist, and then it can then lead to other things. Like as a key art photographer, I know we talked about, it's like there's levels of creativity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm an artist. Ankur's an artist. Also
why'd
a
you
businessman.
hesitate?
About what?
I'm definitely an artist too.
He said Ankur's
Ankur's something.
Don't make me open Photoshop.
Yeah.
Hashtag
He's
Photoshop
a genius,
God.
graphic designer. He's an artist. When an artist,
I came in and Ankur was like on his computer, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't see you there," and he's just got like the biggest ad. Like,
yeah. He's
we're filming today. Oh, this is my photography in the back.
68-inch monitor.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So. We all think about this as artists, though. The second someone pays you for the work that they want you to do, you become a little bit less of an artist, right? You might even be considered an order taker, because the client wants you to shoot what they want you to shoot. And then I'm assuming it's the same case when you're doing key art, that they've already storyboarded out what they want you to shoot. All you got to do is set up the lights and click. How much of that affects you as an artist? Like, right. Obviously you got to get the check and you got to make the money, but
right.
How much of an artist are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because a lot of people probably do want to do what I do and more, right? But there are definitely levels of creativity to it. So in terms of key art, oftentimes you're working with like very big teams. Like the last one that I just did with Bravo, for the Housewives of New York City's Ultimate Girls Trip, there were 60 people on set. Damn. That's what they told me, at least. There were 60 people on set, and it was just for stills. Like that was there was video portion as well. I don't even know how many people were over there. So, and the roles are art director, creative director, and the various other things. And so as a photographer, everybody thinks like, oh, I'm the one that came up with the idea to. No, it's not always the case. Sometimes I'm hired because it's like you're a hired gun. Yeah. The reason why you're hired is because you've built your name up to be popular. Where like you're the it person right now. The other reasons could be that you have a relationship with the cast members, so it makes relations on set a bit easier. That's also what I had with the ladies. I traveled to St. Bart's with them and had a whole bunch of fun, so they were familiar with me already. And then also it's about your professionalism. So, okay, can he lead? Can he do this in the allotted time? We only have 12 hours to get this done. If I give you 3 hours to set up or 2 hours to set up, can you and your team get it done where if talent says they're ready, you're ready? Like, we can't say, oh, talent's ready and, oh, the photographer needs a couple more minutes. Maybe you can, but I can't do that. I need to be ready before them. So there's all these factors that are involved where it's like I have to, again, step into a leadership role to make sure that I'm able to address everything, all those areas. And it does seem like it's like less and less creative. Now, it's great to be a part of the creative process because everything is necessary. So in this case, photography is absolutely necessary. Right. So I have to, I have those creative calls with the networks, and I'm talking to the creative director and they're telling me what they want to do. And then they're like, well, okay, so how do you think that we can get to where, how do you think that you can get us to where we want to go? And then again, if I wasn't touching the equipment at Milk and Adorama and taking it home on the weekends, I wouldn't know. Okay, we need a pack. We need a light pack, I should say. People probably don't know what that is, but we need a light pack with a high recycling rate. Oh, Cliff used to mess with the Pro 8s the Pro Photo Pro 8s back in the day. Now they're at Pro 11, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna need 7 of these. I'm gonna
need 3 Sony cameras.
Yeah. Like I need the Sony camera. I need the backup as well, and it's just like taking all those things into consideration. So it becomes it's there's I guess you can say I have a creative way of how I execute, and there's different levels of creativity. It's not always dealing with the look of things. Sometimes it's just about how creative you are in getting ish done.
Right.
And then that also I like to that's actually I love that, because it's like I want people, when people shoot with me, I want them to obviously like know that they're gonna get the look. That's the other thing too. You have to also, your name should almost
People should think about know a look when they hear the name.
Yeah, they know the look. Like, okay, we're going for light and airy. I absolutely know a person who can do light and airy.
Yeah,
but
it's like Ludwig Arroyo. You know, it's going to be like 100,000 ISO,
100,000
grits. You're going to see veins popping up.
Yeah. but like your name should promise a certain look, but also should promise that they're gonna get the quality that they want.
No, for sure.
I have those chats with the creatives, and dang, I forgot where I was gonna go with that. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, man, you're putting together a way to execute in your own way.
I'm sorry. I just remember. I'm sorry. It's the experience. It's creative, right? You were about to say that.
Yeah.
It's literally the experience too. Like
the Clifton.
You can just come shoot. Yeah, it's literally that. Like,
is what you pay for and what you get every single time.
Like you're gonna, not only are you gonna get the images that you need, you're gonna get them quickly, especially if there's time, like a certain time limit, and then you're also gonna have a whole bunch of fun. It's always fun working on sets like that I'm leading or in command or captaining or whatever. So like I try to and I have to show that. Part of marketing, disruptive marketing. I'm like, hey, I don't know what these guys over there are hiding their lighting setups, and these guys over here are not showing you what it's like. But like here, I'm gonna put in your face, this is why it's so cool to work with Cliff and his team. So
speaking of your team, what's the size? What are you traveling with? 3 guys, 5 guys, 10 guys?
Yeah, so the standard is usually like your photographer, your digital tech, and 3 assistants.
Okay.
If there needed to be more for some reason, that means it's a pretty big project.
Got it.
But yeah, it's usually like a good team of 5 in terms of the photo team.
Mm-hmm. And you're responsible for providing that. So you got your digital tech and 3 assistants already named, like the people at your team.
Right. So at this level that I'm at, I have to make sure that I have teams of people that I trust in various different states. Some photographers at that top level or whatever, I think you and I talked about like Art Striber or something. Yeah. It's like part of hiring him is making sure that his team is coming with him. So if it's his LA team and that's the only team he wants to work with, and that's the team that he says like will give the look that they need, they're gonna fly everybody out or whatever.
Got it.
It's just because his name is also bigger. He's marketed himself as that and has been providing quality imagery for years. Yeah. So I understand that I'm a bit younger, so I have to overcome just a little bit, but I have to overcome that hurdle of being the younger, newer guy on the block by making sure that quality is not degraded no matter wherever I'm shooting. That means I'm doing research, like okay, I'm always looking for like who's really good in Miami, who's really good in Texas, who's really good in, or I shouldn't say Texas, but who's good in Dallas. So you should have people like in every city. So if you're not an extrovert, if you're not a person that's into networking and people person, this might not be for you, because you have to know people outside of just your favorite people. There might, like, I remember there's been a couple days. There was one day I had recently where like I met everybody for the first time.
The whole team.
Yeah. Like I wasn't allowed to, and I think it was during COVID times. So I had to work with whoever the network gave me, and we did well. But okay, if it's everybody's first time, we've never worked with each other before, you gotta be on your leadership, like heavy, because I'm like, yo, I need to get this done. I'm a lead, like walk softly but carry a big stick. It's just like, yo, I know we all have meeting for the first time right now, but I trust every single one of you, because if the shoot goes well, it's gonna be on, you know, it's gonna be on my name. And if a shoot goes bad, it's gonna be on my name. So I need you. You guys are an extension of me. Please, I need your help, and I'm gonna do my best. Like, any questions that you have, I will do my best to answer them. If you have any, like, you know, if you don't know how to do something, come to me and let me know. And again, I can't say something like that if I haven't served if I wasn't washing windows, if I wasn't cleaning bathrooms. All that's necessary. So it's like, if you've served at the bottom, you know, then I'm like, I can make certain requests because I've done it before. You know,
classic leadership principle. By the way, did you write that down? Walk softly, but carry a big stick.
Yeah, who was that? Theodore Roosevelt, I think. One of the presidents said that. And it's always stuck with me.
We got to put that. That's the clip right there.
That's the clip?
That's the clip.
I feel like when we look at your career and we look at where you're at now, I am excited at like my core to see where you go next. Because there's definitely where that Clifton Prescod, at least for other creatives, have recognized you for your work.
Yeah.
And then you want to get to that point where you're a household name, right? And I think for people that are watching the show, I think one of the questions that we ask is like, what is like the cap for like these entertainment photographers or celebrity photographers?
Yeah. Is
it like $multi-million for shoots and movies? I mean, all I hear about is like Marvel Studios making $1 billion on like an Avengers movie. Do the photographers get a huge chunk of that? Like, how does that work?
So it's a different budget, you know, a different group that will hire us, usually marketing, but so they have like an allocated budget and such. But I wish I knew the numbers exactly, because you hear like, you know, fables of like, oh man, art makes like 100,000 per shoot or whatever. If that's true, that's amazing. I know that, you know, for me, my goal is to get to the point, obviously, where I'm making like way more per day than I am now. You know, I've worked for multi-million-dollar photographers. So to me and for me, that just seems like the standard. Like that's like, hey, like when I'm 40, I should be doing that, because that's just what I saw growing up. Now I know that the industries have changed and there's more transparency and whatnot. So, you know, maybe some of those guys are making more than they should have or whatever. Then I just got to get creative about how to still get to that goal.
Yeah, disrupt.
Yeah, and I think I love that you say that, and I love that that's their emphasis here, because disruption is the only thing that's going to get to that point, get you to that point.
Yeah.
You can do regular old marketing and you'll get regular old pay.
Yeah.
But the people that really disrupt things, Deion Sanders, like right now, he's disrupting things. Like, those are ones that you're going to get. That's when you get 1.2 in the first day of sales for sunglasses. Sunglasses that cost 2 cents or 5 cents to make.
What's that brand called?
Blenders.
Can we even mention? Should we even mention them right now on the podcast?
I'm a Dion.
We can bleep it.
Let's bleep it.
You just got to send us a couple pairs. We'll be happy to wear it on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, if we need Clifton to take some photos of it.
I'm working on that with them right now.
Oh, for real? I didn't think you did product photography.
If it's dealing with a person, then I'm going to take it.
Oh, so if there's a body in the sunglasses.
Not to say that I won't do product, but we're working on something.
Oh, okay. You heard it here first. We're breaking news. We are breaking news. I love it.
Prime recognized Prime. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I'm just saying, awesome, you prime time over there. I'm prime time right here.
So you going to Colorado soon, maybe? Yeah. Okay. All right.
All I heard is he just came back from Colorado. He turned off his Instagram.
We're working on it.
I mean,
I just want to work with people that are aligned with the same vision I got. So if it happens to be him or somebody else, yeah.
So there's got to be a bunch of people that are watching this, that are hearing your story and finding some motivation in how you've overcame all these obstacles. Do you have any like nuggets of advice for the people at home that are like, I want to aspire to be just like Clifton Prescod?
Yeah.
Don't do it. No, I'm kidding.
No, right. So you want me to give them nuggets?
Nuggets.
Yeah. Well,
Stuff that we could cut into little clips and make go viral.
Okay.
To make your management team happy.
Right. I would, as far as advice for anybody, like, you know, whether it's young or old that's looking to do what I'm do, or looking to do what I do, I would say there are certain books that you should read. For one, I'm always say the Bible because there's just so much in there, you know. But aside from that, How to Win Friends and Influence Others.
Great book.
Carnegie. Think and Grow Rich. The 4-Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss. I think that changed my life because I kind of live that now. I actually do. And I didn't realize until like recent, like I'm like, oh snap. Like even while there's a entertainment strike right now, like I haven't clocked in for work in so long. And I remember the days begging Adorama for $17.50 instead of 17. You know, being in the red in my bank account because man, I'm about to get emotional because it's like begging your employer to give you a little bit more money so that you can pay to go to work, the train, $300 a month to take the train, and that hurt me, you know, and I'm like, wow, dang, I'm about to cry. That's crazy. You guys got the
Let it out, man.
let it out. Because it's like, yo, again, like like you said, a lot of people will tune in and see where you're at now and feel like that's where it's always been. But I'm like, yo, I really used to struggle to get to work. So it's like, how am I gonna make money if I can't even get to work? So I think, but you know, it's like I said, my faith, and there's certain books that I read, and those 3 that I mentioned are good because it's especially. I think I have this posture in general aside from business, but it's like, yo, I remember in Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence Others, just take interest in other people. Like stop thinking about yourself and just take interest in other people. Like, how can I serve you? Not so that I can serve myself, but like, how can I serve you? Because I know that I'm valuable. If you know that you're valuable, find a way to serve others. It'll come back to you. So I think that that's huge for anybody that just wants to be successful in life, but also like in a relationship business like this, because there's going to be moments where you have to sell. There's going to be moments where you're going to have to execute. There's going to be moments where you're going to have meetings and be a thought leader in spaces where you're talking to, like I'm currently in spaces right now where I'm talking to creative directors and art directors who have been working as long as I've been alive. So it's like, yo, how am I gonna get this veteran to believe in me? You only can do that with confidence, and it's not like a faux confidence. It's like
it comes with experience.
Yeah, it comes with experience. So it's like that's why hearing my story, talking about working from the ground level up, it's like they're like, nah, like this isn't some kid that just got it handed to him. Like he's really been in the trenches. So thank you for this, man. Look at this show, man. It got me emotional and such.
So I think there's people that are watching this that saw me totally SEO Clifton Prescod and are like, wow, how do I get in touch with Clifton? How do I become an intern for Clifton? Like, what do you want to say to them at home? Like, what instructions
I mean, as I'm getting further and further in my career, I now have more opportunities to hire people where I didn't have that as much before. Like I said, I was working with teams of people that I just met for that, that day. So info at Clifton Prescod, CliftonPrescod.com.
You tell them.
Yeah, the D. Hey, yo.
But when they hit you up, what should they be saying? Should they be like, here's my portfolio link?
Okay, right. So don't do what I did back in the day, which was bringing my work and just showing everything that I can do and then saying like, hey, you should have me on set. And I would love to shadow you, or I'd love to be a fly on the wall, because I'm not bringing you anywhere in my set to be a fly on the wall. It is still a competition at the end of the day, right? So I'm like, if you're really gonna be like for me, like it's almost like you have to like really tell that person like, hey, I want to be where you're at, but I need some help, but I would love to just work for you. There's nothing wrong with being I think apprenticeship and internship is so underrated now compared to the past, but it's like, tell that person, like, and if you're reaching out to me, hey, I'm X, Y, and Z, and I would love to apprentice you. I have experience. I know how to break up, like, open and close a stand. Like, don't come to me and you don't have any experience, like, disassembling or assembling a stand. Because, like, I can understand if it was back when I was young and we might not have had access to stands, but it's like, you have YouTube now. You can just look up what a C stand looks like. If you don't know what that looks like, you haven't done your research.
Just don't hit Clifton up if you don't know what a C stand is.
Yeah. But do your own research. Show me that you've exhausted it. And if you have to like give me your little elevator pitch and explain like what you've done and where you want to go, like I'm like, oh, this person's really about it. Oh, and then on top of that, like I remember somebody told me like, if you really want to work for somebody, show them that you've supported them in the past. Hey, Cliff, I read your book, and I saw it like when we were chatting earlier, and y'all was talking about knowing my first camera. Like y'all did the research, the Olympus E500. Like only a few people know that story, but that shows that you did it. So I'm like, yo, now I want to chat with you. Like, what else do you know that I didn't really tell people? So you do that research, and then it's like, okay, this person's about their business. So I'm going to show up for them just as they're going to show up for me.
We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right, guys. So everyone checking out this podcast from home, from the gym, in the car, wherever you're at, we just think that you've been a phenomenal guest, man. This whole idea of disruption marketing and everything we've been talking about, bro, it's literally flowing through your veins. I mean, I want you to know I'm a fan. I love the work that you're doing. I'm humbled and honored that you're here. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. And for everyone that is just kind of getting into this with me and Ludwig and understanding the show, we hope that we've shown you that perseverance can get you to that ability of disruption. You just got to keep going out there, keep trying, and everyone's going to make it. And you're going to find that opportunity. So thanks for being on the show, man. Ludwig, you got anything before we close out?
No, man, I'm a big fan. I love to see what's going to come up next for you. Being a homegrown New Jersey native, I think that's pretty dope, and the big things you're doing. So I'm excited for the future to see what you and your team come up with, man. And thanks for being on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And you already know, it's at Clifton Prescod. You got to follow me everywhere on all socials at Clifton Prescod with a D at the end.
Yeah, he's back.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Remember, Team Sony all the way. All right,
bye, guys.